Every great story begins with a call to something more. Welcome to Recovery Life Now, where we walk with men and couples stepping into the greatest journey of their lives, breaking free from sex addiction, rebuilding trust, and becoming whole. I am delighted today to be here with a good friend of mine, Rob McIntyre.
Hey, buddy.
He's a mentor of mine. He's been a counselor for over 20 years.
We go way back.
Just a good friend. Yeah. So I'm going to hear a little bit about your story today, because you've also struggled.
Oh, yeah.
And fellow struggler is often the best place to learn how do we beat this addiction? Because this addiction is a tough thing. It's often the biggest thing in our lives that sets us back, that can ruin everything. Is there what else would you like to tell us about you before we dive into your story?
Well, I'm married over 17 years. I have 4 sons, all adults. I'm a follower of Christ and love Jesus, love my wife. Excellent. And I love this journey.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Well, we both know what it's like to live in the dark, to be in the confusion, to be in the throes of our addiction. And, and I'm kind of curious, what was that like for you?
Well, you don't know it's coming. You don't know the storm is there until it's there. You don't know all the things that are the precursors until you're in the storm. And a lot of times you feel overwhelmed when your storm hits, or another way to say it is disclosure, or when the symptoms of addiction show up. And, the crisis, I think. And for me, my biggest crisis was after I retired from law enforcement, went through a spinal cord injury, ended a career that I had built my identity with, and then ended up becoming finally honest with my first wife about the things I had done during my years being in law enforcement, infidelity, pornography, and those things. And so it was a huge storm. It was a perfect storm. 3 things: lost my identity, that was false, but it was a career; lost my physical prowess as a man, 36 years old. On top of that, blew up my marriage. And I think some of the greatest wounds that come from that was to my children and that legacy. And I'll tell you, that was bottom. And it was and unfortunately it wasn't like a concise moment of bottom. It was like 7 to 10 years of just going through this process to see, if we could turn the marriage around, if I could turn myself around with God's help and restore the family. And unfortunately that wasn't the case. Our marriage didn't make it. After 7, almost 8 years of really doing everything I was told to do. But I realized, man, it's complex, this issue called addiction. And most of us only see the symptoms.
Right.
It's like a terribly metastasized cancer. And there's so many parts of it that invade us. And so it takes years, years of treatment. I still work on stuff today, and I'm 25 years from those events.
I mean, it's kind of like you learned how to do recovery wrong for a lot of years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of that spin cycle down, like, I'm trying to fix this. I'm trying to, I'm using the tools that I know. You were probably working with counselors and pastors that cared and wanted the best for you, but didn't have the right tools.
Right. And everybody's seen the video of Bob Newhart, just stop it. Just stop it. And just quit.
Stop doing that.
And the problem is it's so deeply linked to the roots of relationship and identity and the wounds we carry. And you cannot unroot it unless you are willing to revisit those and process it.
Well, an addiction is the solution that helped us to survive our family of origin, typically.
No, I agree. I actually think that's a great way to reframe addiction, because most people look at it and go, I'm bad and this was terrible. And yes, there are aspects of it, of course, that are terrible, but you survived. And I do feel like there is that part where you have to go, I did function and I did survive. It was just the wrong solution. I agree.
And now it's a maladaptive coping skill.
Exactly.
And we gotta figure out, well, how do we get to the bottom of that? Because it worked so good. We're like, come on, keep working.
Right. But it's like anything. It's like putting an additive to a motor that's just going to fall apart anyways. You can get it to function for a period of time, but it's going to be on the side of the road. It's going to be a Ford. Sorry.
And it's gonna and it's probably gonna, when it wrecks, it's gonna blow up a few other vehicles alongside of it too.
True that.
So I'm curious. I've heard different parts of your story over the years, but like, what was there a moment that was really the bottom for you? I mean, I know it was kind of a 7-year spin cycle downhill. Was there a moment that you look back at and go, oh my gosh, that was
the worst? Yeah, that's a great question. And of course, there are moments that are very close to this moment, but it was the year that I was living separated from my first wife and our children. And so it had gone a total calendar year since I moved out. And I realized it didn't look like the marriage was going to make it. And it was like New Year's Day or right after. I was in my apartment and I was running around in the apartment crying like I was 12 or 13 years old, just panicking. Wow. And I remember, I literally remember, I thought, you know what, I could hang myself. And I went as far in my thinking I could grab some extension cords. And I thought about my sons. I had started a private practice. I'm a counselor, right? Yeah. So, and I'd been in private practice about 5 years, and I knew the resources, I knew the tools, but I was in that desperate moment. I remember and just going, God, I need your peace. Who brings up some emotion, And that was, that was 20 some odd years ago, but I remember feeling his peace, and I felt like he told me, you're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. I'm in your boat, So yeah, that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Where did you go from there? Like,
well, I think
that's a deep space. Like, did God meet you in that space?
Oh yeah.
What was that like?
I felt, Well, there's 2 times where God's met me like that. The other time was when I was abducted. I was a teenager. I was 13 years old, and I was abducted by a sexual predator. And I was being abused. I was being sexually abused. And I remember that I was in the ceiling of the building we were in. Well, I don't even know how to say it. Like, physically, my soul was in the ceiling. I had literally detached from my body. Well, I know that sounds weird, but it's disassociation.
Weird, yeah, absolutely.
And I disassociated, and I remember going, I'm probably going to die. I'm probably not going to live through this. And I remember going, God, if you save me, I will serve you.
Wow.
And I remember, just going, I don't think anything drastic happened in the moment, but I didn't feel alone, And, something like that happens to a human, mostly a young man. I had no clue the devastation that did to my soul. I still am working through aspects of that, at this point in my life. But the devastation and the fear and the terror, and I became a great compartmentalizer. So, but with that was very similar. Those 2 events was where I've experienced God in an extremely powerful way.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I've experienced God in extremely powerful ways, but those were some of my greatest crises.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
Wow. From that moment when you were considering taking your own life, and how did you find a way out? Like, where did you?
So prior to that, I had done a lot of work. I had done a lot of recovery work. I had become somebody who embraced the structures of recovery, which is something I totally embraced as a therapist, trying to help people, creating disciplines and accountability, boundaries and consequences, a lot of the terminology we use in recovery. And I knew that if God was with me, I would make it, and the structure was there to support, like a bridge. And so that's what I did. I relied on the men that I had gathered over the 7 years of that journey up to that point. And it was amazing. That's how so much of my ministry today, what I do, comes from me having to find these places to journey with other men through the storms, facing life storms together, which is my byline for the Stampede.
I love that.
Yeah, it came out of that, and me being willing to pull guys into my life and say, I need you. I can't do this. And I remember significant moments meeting with just other men where they just loved on me and they showed me grace. Because I think prior to that moment, because of the stuff that went through my marriage, I don't know if I really ever saw myself of any value. I think because of the stuff about marriage and how, you get a lot of the, shame thrown back at you because of the things you've done. And
Right.
it's just the dynamic of brokenness.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my spouse wasn't really working on herself. So what I was getting was either a lot of silence or a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do with that. So at that moment where now I'm in this apartment, it was me and God and my recovery. Probably one of the best things for me. And I found myself becoming individuated. I was very codependent with her. I was very codependent with the marriage, making it, Yeah. And once I was able to say, okay, if it doesn't make it, I'll be okay. And I was, and so that was it. It was a structure. It was accountability. It was not sitting in it and not doing anything. I took action, but it was hard. Yeah. It's probably the most difficult thing I've ever done, not just emotionally, but physically. We don't realize a lot of times how difficult when you are in depression or trauma or however you want to describe the place you're in, that you have to physically keep on moving. Otherwise we atrophy and we die. Literally, we start dying. Yeah.
The body is such a big, huge part. I mean, it
all
holds
connected.
all of our trauma. It's massive.
How
important it is. So sounds like you made a couple of phone calls to some guys.
Is
that what I'm hearing? Like,
it would be multiple phone calls a day most of the time. I remember as a therapist, a brand new therapist, knowing I needed to cry, and I would move a session and just cry for an hour.
Yeah. Right.
I couldn't believe it.
Yes.
Prior to all this stuff blowing up, I didn't know how to cry. I had to learn how to cry in this process, learn how to weep. It's a fascinating thing that I experienced, learning how to weep. But once I learned and I was going through the process, I knew I needed to cry. And typically for about a year, it was every morning, every night, I'd have a good cry, and then throughout the day.
Throughout the day, you're trying to function.
Trying to function.
That's I think this journey of recovery gives us so many gifts that we never have an opportunity to learn about, like crying, like connecting with our emotions. Prior to that, I mean, I don't know how you operated, but I know for me, I was like, shove all the emotions down, and we don't listen to those kind of things. You talked about compartmentalization, like just push it off to the sides. We don't deal with that.
Well, I think one of the things that my family of origin taught me, and then I learned after being abducted and not getting any therapy, I figured I need to perform my way out of this, approval, accomplishment. That was my bent, where some people go to, I'm just going to be angry, I'm going to be self-destructive. It's not like, I remember at some level it was intentional for me. I'm going to build a life that's going to look like something that I didn't experience. And I remember as a young man, I draw pictures of the houses I wanted to own. I loved first responders, right? Like firefighters, cops. So I'd draw pictures of car accidents and cops. I love to draw, and then I drew pictures of what I wanted my wife to look like. And it's amazing how much creative ability we have as humans. We're made in the image of the Creator, and so I created this life, and got to a place where I had everything I wanted, and I thought it would satisfy me, but it didn't. And I don't remember the original question that you asked, but I just found myself empty. And of course the addiction was constantly, at that time, this is pre-disclosure, was constantly working its way to the surface. I feel like it's going to come out somewhere. Our emotions are going to come out somewhere, some way, and it's not going to be pretty. If we don't process them on a regular basis. It's just like, it's like a good pussy wound. I know that's gross, but it just is what it is. It's an infection. Right. I call it emotional constipation. It's just like, a lot of crap. All of that emotion. If we don't feel our feelings and let them process, it's gonna get nasty. So, wow. So you're beginning to connect with men, which is something that's not super common in our culture. It's a huge making need. Phone calls. You're talking to guys. You're meeting in groups. Sharing your feelings. Right? That's massive. And so, like, how did that help? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I think for a lot of guys watching this today, it's like that are maybe in that space of going, oh my gosh, life is horrible right now. Everything sucks.
and I've lost my identity, I've lost my career, I've lost my family. Where do we go from here? Like, how does making a phone call and talking to a dude gonna help?
Yeah. Well, so I have a couple little quips that I do when I teach. It's abstinence, action, and accountability. I think those are like some of the basics when you start this recovery process. And the phone calls originally started for me to check in, to just have somebody know that I'm doing the work. It was a proactive behavior on my part every day to check in with somebody. But it's interesting how those phone calls can end up becoming relational, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I found. And I found that it met a need that I was actually trying to meet through a counterfeit, through addiction, that I was lonely.
Yes.
And this deeper part of me that was never exposed now is exposed, and now I'm finding a healthy connection. So it's really a hard thing to describe to somebody first starting it if they don't have a lot of emotional access. But if you get them to start doing the behavior, it's amazing how you can be transformed by just consistently doing it. And that's what I found, that a lot of the greatest needs I had as a man, even a boy, was met through these relationships with other men who said, hey, dude, there by the grace of God go I, or I'm just like you. I accept you. Yeah, John Eldridge says this. He says, if a man doesn't get what he needs from his father to be a good man, then he must go to a group of men and to find it. And, and I think naturally I went to law enforcement as a way to try to do that for myself, but it was that wasn't the right place to find this great healing of my soul. So, I look at myself kind of like as God broke me open, and then the recovery process gave access to that. And the phone calls are just a practical way. I say it's kind of like taking your antivirus every day, and then take that pill, make a connection and meet a need instead of look for addiction.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It is.
It is amazing. Yeah. You go, that ain't going to work, but then it works.
Yeah. Remember the old, I don't know if you remember, because this was in California, but it's making phone calls like next thing to be in there. It's just that connection. And we know that from COVID, right? That the greatest need for us as humans is this need for connection. And if we don't proactively pursue it, you will go back to addiction. I've seen it hundreds, thousands of times. Yeah.
So where did that journey lead from there? You're starting to connect with a few guys. You're starting to process your emotions. Where did you like?
Well, so I'm all along. So I'm kind of, I think the image of me would be, I had a neck brace on emotionally. I was in crutches, I probably had a back brace. So I was walking wounded, right?
Yeah.
And, but God gave me this great opportunity to be a healer at the same time. I mean, the paradox was crazy. I'd heal at work and then I'd go home being wounded. And it was fascinating to me. And it's not like I'd like to go back there, but as I kind of look backwards, I go, that is fascinating. How the juxtaposition of helping people. But what I found is God was developing in me this ability to meet with guys who were just like me, and I was just a couple of months or years ahead of them in the journey. And it qualified me to lead. And I by that point I had lost all my personal arrogance about leading. Like, I need to be a leader to feel like I'm something. So the way God does it, like when he takes the rambunctious, rebellious lamb, the shepherd, and they break the legs, and then they bind it and they put it on the shepherd until the legs heal. Well, you think about that. That's how that sheep then connects with the shepherd, right? And I felt like that's what God was doing with me. And so it became this thing where it wasn't, I didn't read a book that taught me how to be. I've had this thought, I don't know if this is going to work or going to be true, but I kind of feel like sometimes I'm a man whisperer, like I've finally learned how to approach a man because now I know what it's like to be a man. Right. And it's through brokenness and giving my heart to God and having God give me the identity as a man. So now I can journey with men and I can have this mutual understanding. Right. And so that's what I felt like God was doing in this process. And, so as time went on, I remember one time here at Woodman Valley, I had a pastor friend ask me to teach at a large retreat. And I was going right through the middle of my divorce. And I just said, I'm not your man. I said, I can't do this. He goes, why? And I go, I'm going through a divorce, dude. I'm disqualified. That's where I was, right? And I go, look at my past. He goes, no, you're my man.
Wow.
And that began this really powerful relationship that I've had with this church and with the people of that community. And it was an amazing success, not because of me, but because God met me when I showed up. And that's been the rest of my career, I guess, as a counselor, is when God says show up, he meets me and he does things that I can't believe that he does. But that's kind of my story. I don't know if I can say I've taken a course or read a book that, made me kind of get to a certain place. This is all natural. This is all part of the journey.
Yeah. It's so interesting to see like how God often breaks a man before he uses him powerfully.
Yeah.
Like, I think about Moses. I think about, David. I think about a lot of people that even today where, we go, I think a lot of people look at somebody and go, oh, that guy failed. And in a way, it's how we process our failure that qualifies us to be
somebody that
can bring healing to people.
Yeah.
And what made it, I think oftentimes in our lowest place that you described today, that's a massive opportunity to choose. You're kind of at a fork in the road where you go, I can either choose my addiction and jump off the deep end here. I'm not suicidal, but I'm like, hey, you know what? I could choose that way. You weren't trying to save your marriage at that point. You weren't trying to, that was over. You were recognizing you're at that place where you're like, it's just done. And what made you decide to turn towards God, to turn towards men in your community and start to get vulnerable with them? Because that's freaking hard.
Oh yeah, I get it. It is hard. You got me thinking about that, and I think God just wove into me as a human this warrior nature. I wanted to be a warrior. I wanted to be a soldier. I was like Ralphie on the Christmas Story. I wanted to stand at the podium like a hero. There was that part of me. I wanted to be a hero. And when I got abducted, I just remember. I don't remember much other than I survived.
Yeah.
And I think that really turned something in me to try to become something based on my prayer of value, right?
Yeah.
And I traveled and sang in a gospel quartet for 3 years prior to my law enforcement experience. I thought that was it. I thought that's how God would use me on the stage, and that didn't turn out that way. And then law enforcement, I thought that. I people called me Golden Boy.
You were a badass sheriff's deputy in the narco team.
Yeah, I was narcotics. I stumbled into some of the biggest cases, and I also sang a lot as a deputy sheriff prior to my narcotics years at the Capitol and different events. And so it's pretty heady, right? But it never satisfied. It never scratched the itch, right? So I feel like there's this thread that God was weaving, this ability to risk, but not for my glory, but for his glory, right? So the risk came when I had this decision to make. What do I do with my life? I've blown it all apart, right? I have all these experiences. I could go to the left, I could go to addiction and stay in that and continue to destroy, but there is this, and it's still here, dude. It's still in me, and it burns like crazy. I want to be a warrior for God. I've said this before. I want to punch addiction in its mouth and bust its teeth out and tear its lips apart before I die. That's my job.
I love it.
And so So it's like, that's what I want. And there's this passion in me, and it drives me. And I have to say that's from God. And he's, like a rocket. He's got me going in the direction. I still have my moments, but he's got me going like a guided missile. And that's what it feels like. And, I would have never, looking back, thought of where I am today, because I didn't make this. This is God. What I am today is what God has done through me in my brokenness. It's not what I thought. Thugs to hugs. Who does that? Who's a cop and becomes a counselor? That's unheard of. There's a couple out there, but but it's rare, and it was definitely rare back then.
Yeah. I often, at Recovery Life Now, we talk about the hero's journey, because addiction the bottom of our addiction is the call to transformation. It's a call to a journey.
Yeah.
And I always think about Frodo, and Gandalf is like, hey, there's a ring and there's this thing way over there, and you can stay here in your life of comfort, and maybe it'll stay the same, but it's actually coming. It's going to come and it's going to eat your lunch, and life is going to, or you can depart on a journey of unknown, and I'm going to guide you, and I'm going to give you the tools, and I'm going to show up once in a while and help you on your journey. And you're going to meet people, and it's going to be freaking uncomfortable and scary, and it's going to suck. You want to go? Let's go. Let's
nobody signs up for that.
Journey. Nobody wants to do that, but he sits there and he goes, well, I love my tea. I love my morning tea and my afternoon, all the stuff, right? I love everything about the Shire. But what he doesn't realize is the Shire is beginning to implode. And if he doesn't embark on this journey, he's going to be in a crazy space. And that's that's the hero's journey that you've embarked on. Although the Shire for you, it did implode. It did. You lost everything, your career, your marriage, or all the stuff.
A lot of finances too.
Right? Right. But then you chose to embark on the journey. And that's the hugest piece. That's the biggest piece and that's a daily decision in many ways. But that you started on the journey, and you've met people along the way, and you've walked together with men. And not from a place of, hey,
look at me.
I'm awesome, but hey, let's go fight this together. Because it's a problem in all of us, and we've got to move forward. We've got to go to Mordor, and we've got to deal with this. And I love the people that we've met along the way. I think about the group of guys that I meet with that are, we say, hey, we are the best friends we wish we never had. None of us wanted to, hey, let's all get together.
I'm a recovering addict.
Guys. But it is such a powerful journey. It is so transformational. You're not the person that you were in that apartment going, should I take my life or should I make a phone call?
I just got to say this too, that God's mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. It's just this idea that, if it wasn't for God, I couldn't let that burden of my past go, my mistakes go. But it's still part of the journey too, right? Is choosing to let my burdens go on a daily basis, right? And that's the hero's journey, is keeping my pack light and staying alert and, staying connected, but unloading the things that I was never meant to carry. And totally different than what I used to be, because I compartmentalize, shove down. I think that's kind of a young man's issue, unless you're taught not to do that. I wasn't taught, 100%. So we survive and we pack it, we stuff it down, we don't show weakness, right? But as you get older, actually the ability to show vulnerability and weakness actually becomes a strength, because people relate to that and they identify that and they want to trust that, rather than somebody who looks like they got it all together and there's no problems. I don't trust a man who doesn't walk with a limp. I trust a man who's willing to say, hey, I've been there, or I am there. I say, oh, you're my bro. Let's go. I can relate to that. That's why I love working with addicts, because they're at a place of where they're going, 100%. Dang, I'm broken. I want help. And I'm going, you're in the right place.
Absolutely. It's powerful. What would you say are some recovery tools that you find super important? We've talked about the phone calls and connecting with men. What are some other, if you were saying, sitting with somebody that's just beginning the recovery journey?
Dang, dude, I got them right now. I'll tell you right now. You ready?
Let's go.
Okay. 3-legged stool.
Okay.
ABCs of recovery: accountability, boundaries, consequences, and sobriety. And then random testing, right? So for sex addicts, that's polygraphs. That's extreme accountability, financial accountability. And then the 6 disciplines is what I call them in my practice is AM prayer, daily reading or podcasts, recovery reading or podcasts, meetings for the first year and a half. So a study was done by Smart Recovery that if you stay sober for a year and a half doing the work, you have an 80% chance of staying sober for the rest of your life. Now, Smart Recovery is primarily for substance abuse, but I think the stat fits with sex addiction. So if I am able to do this work and stay sober for a year and a half or 547.5 days,
Gotta have that half a day.
Gotta have that half day there, yeah. You have an 80% chance of staying sober for the rest of your life. So doing the 6 disciplines and the meetings, I suggest you do these up to that point, and then bilaterally, not unilaterally, meet with a therapist and your sponsor and go, okay, what do I do with these now? Do I still need to go to 3 meetings a week? Which is what I suggest. Now, the 3 meetings a week would be an accountability meeting where you're being called on the carpet. What have you done this week? How are you doing? Are you sober? But then the other 2 could be with a therapist, working on your issues. And then the other one could be like working out with another brother in recovery or going on a hike. Anytime you get out and connect and you're sober and you're doing some kind of sober interaction, to me, that adds as a meeting second to that number 1 meeting. Then the phone calls, number 4. Number 5, evening prayer. And then number 6, this one I just recently added about 3 years now, gratitudes. 2 daily gratitudes every day. Because the studies show if you are willing to do this work for even 2 weeks of being grateful and writing them down and having 2 things every day you're grateful for, within 2 weeks, 14 days, you can come out of depression.
Wow. It rewires your brain.
It does. Thankfulness.
Those are practices that rewire your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
And pull your, because pornography and sex addiction, all of that wires our brain in a bad way, maladaptive way. And this helps to rewire it and building community, real relationship. And it's powerful. It is absolutely powerful. But it takes none of them are hard to do. It just takes intentionality.
Correct. So the other day at my men's group called the Stampede, I was teaching on the power of choice. And I came up with this phrase that choice is how we direct our will. And it was really significant for me as I pictured that. See, because we all have this will. Every day we wake up. Thank God we have this country we live in. We can choose, right? I could choose to be, not the best version of me, or I could choose to be the best version of me. So as I proactively, intentionally make choices, that's the way where my will goes. Well, see, that's what the 6 disciplines are. You will always succeed if you consistently, you don't have to do it perfectly, right? That's what I would like to tell guys. This is not about being perfect. You can't be perfect, by the way, because I'm not, But it's a journey of consistency and creating momentum. And like you said, the neural pathways, that's behavior is what changes the neural pathways the quickest.
Yeah. So good. So good. What surprised you the most about your recovery journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the fact that I found a purpose that I didn't expect to find, right? Like I thought, dude, prior to having my life blow up, I thought counselors and therapy was a joke. In law enforcement at the time is 80s, 90s, early 2000, right, was my career. And, we were laughing about it, don't go to therapy. Rubber gun squad is what they called it, Right. And so, for me, it was never on my radar as anything to become or do. And it was interesting. I thought that was my purpose. And so then when my life fell apart and broke apart, that I found this purpose in being a healer. And I think part of in law enforcement, there was this white hat syndrome. Well, it was a good thing. I wanted to be a good guy. And I was a good guy. I was a good cop. I had made some mistakes, but not big mistakes. My intentions were good. I cared for people, but there wasn't a depth. So going through this brokenness, and then I had this depth to love and care. And I started to see people not for their mistakes, but I started to see them as God sees them. Like I can look amongst the men in my men's group, and I feel like I can see God's value on them. It's the weirdest thing. And I'll call them out. I'll say, God's got something great for you. God's got something great for you, John. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even in our biggest mess.
It's powerful.
And to me, that's like grabbing a hand and pulling you up, man, And I'll tell you, that's the thing I think that's been the greatest change in me, and it's what drives me. I will never retire. My poor wife, I just told her, I said, I have to do this for the rest of my life. This is my purpose, is to be a man who journeys with other men who are broken.
Come on.
Yeah. It just is.
It becomes addicting, right?
Yeah, in a good way.
You see people's lives transform before you.
It's the best
powerful.
It's the best thing ever.
It's amazing to see somebody who's absolutely broken in that place where you were.
Yeah.
And being a guide for them to walk alongside of them. And I love that.
I do too.
So freaking powerful. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. If somebody was listening right now who's stuck in their shame, and we could speak about shame for a second here,
dang.
but like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I was
great with it.
Hearing something this week that shame and addiction can grow exponentially when you get three things: shame, secrecy, and what was the other thing? Judgment. You put those in a little dish and you shake them up, and it blows up your addiction. And I think shame is a huge piece of addiction. And I mean, you know, oftentimes, well, any of us that struggle with addiction are also struggling with shame. What are your thoughts about shame?
Yeah.
How do you address shame?
Well, I think it's important to distinguish the difference between guilt and shame, right?
Yes.
Guilt is I've done something wrong. Shame is something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Right.
I am bad.
Yeah. I am bad. You know, and so worthlessness only reproduces worthlessness. And Brene Brown's done a lot of research, you know, on shame.
Stuff, yep.
Yeah. And she says it's the willingness to be vulnerable is the antidote to shame.
Come on.
And I would say the opposite of shame is acceptance, right? Like, being able to be vulnerable and open consistently is what brings healing. It's kind of like acceptance, the light of acceptance, the light of vulnerability is what kills the mold of shame.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You expose it to the UV rays, right? It's kind of, it's 1 John 1:7-8. If we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship one with another, and the blood of Jesus Christ, his son, cleanses us from all sin. So this need to walk in the light and then have the application of the blood and the relationships, you know, because it's plural, right? It's not singular. And so it's this idea that I have to walk in this openness. I have to walk in this new identity. I'm not defined by my mistakes. I don't need to cover up anymore. You know, and boy, the media loves cover-ups, don't they?
Right.
You know, it's titillating. It's what they thrive on. But
let's cover it up until it grows a bunch, and then we can open it up and go and expose it.
Yeah, and then you're bad.
Jerk this person is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And God's going, when that happens, now I can do something. And so shame, in my opinion, is the place for, like, I'll say it this way. Brokenness is an invitation from God. When we are broken, he's inviting us to intimacy.
Yeah.
So what's cool about the word brokenness, if you look it up in the synonyms, is contrite. Well, contrition means to be reduced to powder. So when we go through brokenness or contrition, we're being reduced to powder, which makes me think of the threshing floor. Where, you know, in the Old Testament, they talk about it, and they talk about, you know, separating the wheat from the chaff. Why is that important? Because God says there's going to be a day where we're going to be judged, and what is not of God will be burned. But what is pure, right? And I think that's when you go through this process, that's what God's doing. He's doing a purifying process, and shame is the precursor of brokenness. Right? Like it will bring brokenness. Either you are broken or it will bring brokenness. And secrecy is you know, the action, I think, of shame. Shame's covering up, but secrecy is, oh, I don't have a problem. I used to do this. For me, law enforcement was like a badge, a gun, accomplishment, you know, reputation, you know, donut eating. No, I'm joking.
Right, yeah.
But, you know, having this kind of skill, and people would go, oh yeah, he's a cop, you know, da. So that defined me, but that was my cover up. What was going on inside of me was this need for exposure, because the disease was within, and it needed to be brought to the light. So I don't know if that's a big explanation for shame.
There's something I mean, we keep coming back to it, but there's something so powerful about being known. Yeah. About knowing other men. Yeah. You know, and I mean, I think about, I think it's one of your quotes. I don't know who I'm quoting. I've always quoted this, but it's like, relationship's the opposite of addiction. Yeah. When we have relationship with men, and I think about, you've got to have those horizontal relationships.
You do. Yeah.
And
we're designed that way.
That's so much not our culture, but it is so much our design.
Yeah.
And so growing those relationships, yes, our relationship with God is also absolutely central and important too. Both are, because recovery is so much a spiritual journey.
It is.
And any addiction that we pursue, we're seeking something spiritual in that addiction. Yeah. And but that being known, like, you know, I feel like recovery groups are so powerful, because oftentimes I don't know of another place where we can be deeply known. Because you go to a Bible study, you go to a church, and most of the time things are pretty surfacey. But when you go to a recovery group, you sit in a circle and you go, hey, I got problems, bro, and let me break it down for you.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm trying to do about it. And, you know, this is how I'm feeling today. And you might cry, and you might, and you might laugh, and but it's a beautiful and a powerful thing, because it's a place where you can be known.
Yeah. You're not faking it. You're not. There's the congruence. There's a wholeness, right? When we're faking it, we're broken. We're in pieces internally.
It's got that cover up.
Yeah, and that creates anxiety. Think about it. Like, the anxiety addicts carry is because they're in parts.
Yeah.
You know, and so the healing brings wholeness. The confessions, the expressions, the vulnerability brings wholeness, because now we're known and we're accepted. And once we're accepted, that's love, right?
Right.
That's love. When someone accepts you, that's love.
And oftentimes we weren't accepted in our family of origin.
Of course.
And for who we were. We were accepted for our performance, for being a great performer,
student, whatever, sports, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if someone was here today and they were just starting the recovery journey, what would you have to say to them? You know, they're sitting there in their shame. Maybe they're sitting in their living room going, man, that extension cord idea sounds interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would you say to them?
Yeah. I would say to them that they haven't, you don't know your value. You haven't experienced your value. And recovery is a value activity, but you need to be around people who see your value. You need to put yourself in a situation where you're willing to travel with other men who are like-minded. That's what recovery is, you know. My men's group, the Stampede, we use the Buffalo, which is in my walls here in my office. And the Buffalo face storms. So there's this part of you in this journey where you got to face it. It's hard. Addicts don't face reality. They escape it. Recovering people face it.
Yeah.
And that's how we become strong, right? Courage is not with the absence of fear. We feel terrified. I was terrified, but we face it. And I want to say, face it, find a group of people who can help you through it, because the way out is through. It's through the storm. And I promise you, you do this journey, you said the word earlier, badass, you will become a badass. It's just, it's the nature of the journey. You get enough sobriety.
Transformed.
You get enough sobriety, you can overcome anything. Because you've overcome addiction. What else is tougher than that? Not much.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, my ability to make it through my divorce and get to the other side and find a beautiful woman to commit to and have a great marriage, that was because I did the recovery work. I faced those other things before I did that. You know, and
you became a man who was worthy of her trust.
Oh yeah,
that was, totally different. Yeah. This is a question that is kind of a signature question for Recovery Life now, and that is, what does recovery life look like for you today?
Yeah,
you're 20 something years into recovery.
25 years. And for the last 8 years, I've been a beast at doing like 3 or 4 things every morning. I don't know if I've missed more than 1 or 2 days successively.
Wow.
And it's not because, I have to do these things because I'm checking the box. I do them because it's like taking vitamins. So I'll just tell you what it is. I get up. I did it today. I get up, make my coffee, get to my podcast that I like to listen to, my worship, my reading, exercise, and my vitamins.
Wow.
And I know that sounds almost so common, but that's what's come out of my recovery.
Doing something steady.
Every day.
Your day on the right path.
And most of my days are 11 to 12-hour days. I do full-time up at Palmer Lake, and then I do, 4 to 5 hours here in my private practice each day. And I'm 62, and I'm just getting to the best of myself. And physical fitness, that's kind of a new thing for me. Really getting optimally in shape, so I can be here, do well for the next 10 to 20 years.
Nice.
It's important. And it is. Last time I checked, I only get one of these, so I might as well take care of it. And so that's what recovery looks like for me. I do groups for free. I do a men's group called the Stampede for free.
It's online, so
Yeah.
people can connect with you. We'll get you that
Yeah,
information in a minute.
every Tuesday night. And then I also do something called Reboot, which is twice a year with New Life Church here in Colorado Springs. It's a 12-week course I do for first responders. And it's a trauma course. And it's really a cool thing. So I do those two things, and then I do my private practice as well as Palmer Lake. So I'm a busy guy.
You are.
You know, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's a good life. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have this.
Yeah.
And those things in the morning, seriously, are the things that make me capable, connecting with God, getting information in me, working out, you know, all the things. It's physical, emotional, and spiritual.
And you still maintain connections with a lot of guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That to me, like last night I was with a bunch of warriors, military guys, first responders last night around a fire till 12:30. Wow. And we're praying for a guy who just accepted the Lord. Right. Wow. So cool. These are my warriors, man. So yeah, I have all these different groups that just feed my soul.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. What do you wish people in general, and maybe even counselors and pastors and leaders, understood about recovery?
Well, I think first I'd want them to understand that addiction doesn't define someone, right? Like they need to see, I had my mentor, Randy Green, who passed away recently. He told me jails and hospitals are God's opportunities to reach somebody. And I think a lot of times when we see somebody with an addiction, we write them off. We say that's a character flaw, right? But that is a horrible stigma. I say, you know, if they're coming to grips with being an addict, you've got a great opportunity to see someone's life transform. And so recovery is this beautiful journey of someone going through this process of becoming broken and then allowing the power of relationship vertically and horizontally to transform them.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And if I felt, oh, sorry, pounded on the mic, but I've wanted personally to have something called like a recovery church, you know, and I know some people have done that, but a place where we go, come one, come all.
Yeah.
You know, we're here to give the power of the living God into your problem and to see you transform in his presence and through community.
Yeah.
You know,
so good.
Yeah. I don't know if God's called me to do that specifically, but I feel like in the parachurch ministries that I do and in my career, that's what I'm doing as part of the body of Christ.
That's powerful. You know, oftentimes when we deal with a guy who's struggling with sex addiction, pornography, affairs, escorts, all the stuff, right? There is a spouse or a partner that is, you know, a big part of their life that is very wounded by the betrayal, because it is. I mean, all of that is massive betrayal to a spouse, to a partner.
It's huge.
What would you say to a partner that's listening to something like this and going, I don't know if my husband, my boyfriend is, you know, how do I know if he's going to pull it out? If he's going like pull his head out is what I'm trying to say. You know, you know, how do I know if he's going to overcome this? Should I want to hope, but I am scared to death to hope. What do I do?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's maybe more of a therapy kind of a question, like sitting in your office with the couple kind of a question. But like, what would you say?
I would tailor that to your situation, because not every situation is exactly the same. I think the manner of addiction, the manner of disclosure, those kind of things just create a trauma.
There's a lot of factors.
Yeah. And there is a period of, so the way I like to describe it is, okay, if you're a couple and there's an addict, so you are the driver of the addict and your wife was in the car and you got into a horrible wreck. So both of you are in need of care, but the addict has to be responsible for what has happened. So as the partner, the key is to take care of yourself. I understand why people make quick decisions to end relationships that are toxic, because that would be a toxic relationship, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, find somebody that can help you figure that out. Don't make massive decisions right at the beginning. Have a therapist help you, the partner, with boundaries and ways to heal. Find, if it's a woman, find a woman's group that can support you. If it's a man, you know, same thing. I've helped a lot of men through being the partner of you know, betrayal or something. And so you need that help, and you need so when I have a couple that's like this, I realize there's 3 clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the individuals, 1 and 2, and then there's the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
The marriage is the 3rd client, the 3rd individual that needs to be healed. And that can wait. That can wait for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are certain therapists who like to put it all back together right in the moment and try to get it functioning. And I used to do that. I don't know if that's always the best way. I think every case needs to be looked at separately. If I have a partner who says, yes, I want to keep this going, but I need proof that you're not being the same person you are, we can figure that out. Mm-hmm. Polygraphs are a great tool, but I don't think every case needs a polygraph. But it's extreme. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered the question well, but
there's a lot of factors.
Yeah, it is.
And really it depends on how much responsibility they take and how they move forward and really pick up the tools of recovery and run with them or don't.
Right.
That is kind of what I'm hearing you.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I recently had a session with a client I've known for 15 plus years, maybe even longer. And there was infidelity many years ago, but the cycling of emotional hurt, and it's both sides, right? It's not just the addict who's sober, but it's the partner who's still in pain.
Yes.
And so they have this crazy cycle. Yeah. And it's interesting. They're amazing people, love them, but they have this cycling that happens. And it's like, okay, so when I counsel him, it's like, dude, you got to understand she's hurting. You can't heal that hurt. All you can do is understand and try to do your best to be loving and caring and let her scream out in pain.
Yeah.
But then for her, it's got to be excruciating, almost 20 years later to still be having this recurring pain.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing dynamic.
It's so important that you actually find somebody who specializes in this specialty area of addiction, because, I think a lot of times people go to their pastors, they go to a therapist that's a general practitioner, great people, very well-meaning, but if they don't specialize in this, it's really hard.
Can you imagine a podiatrist trying to do heart surgery?
Right, or deal with your cancer or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got to have a specialist on the...
Yeah, you need a person who knows how to do that. Yeah, and it is interesting having the journey that I've had personally, and then to be a therapist who helps us. Of course, I can't let my own journey be the only defining way I look at it, but I definitely understand the process. Yeah.
So good, Rob. Thank you so much. Dude, I really appreciate you
getting
together and chit-chatting about this. We could geek out on this for days.
Dude, I could keep on going. I got a couple more hours in me.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But if people want to get a hold of you, how do they ftlcounseling.com? .org. Don't do com.
ftlcounseling.org. Yeah. Or my email. I take email ftlcounseling CO. So Frank Tom Lincoln Counseling CO Charlie Ocean @gmail.com. And then my phone number. I don't mind giving my phone number out. 719-233-4776. Best way to get a hold of me is text me. 719-233-4776. It's like I've done radio.
You are going to be spammed out to wazoo, buddy. But I think I love seeing you on your journey.
Oh, dude, back at
the ways that you
too.
have blessed me and so many men that I know, and so grateful to be journeying together. It's cool. Sometimes we're on different wavelengths, different areas, but it is powerful. Yeah. And I feel like the harvest is absolutely ripe with people who understand they have a problem. And oftentimes we pretend we don't have a problem until the problem eats us alive. Yeah. Eats our family or causes a major pain.
I heard it was Rick Warren who said this about 2 years ago. He says there is a wave of grief that is going to hit our world. And he was speaking a lot about COVID and a lot of the things. And what I know about grief, if we don't process it, we'll medicate it. Yeah. And so no wonder why addiction is on the rise, because people are hurting.
Medication,
And so if you are a recovering person and you found some success in recovery, consider serving.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it is the best way to redeem your pain.
Recovery.
Yeah. I found for me, redeeming my pain has come through using my story to God's glory.
Somebody else. Yeah. It is absolutely powerful, to hear your story, to know that there's hope.
Yeah,
There
absolutely.
is hope. This addiction can be defeated.
It can be.
And, I think sometimes we think about pornography is so readily available today, like it was never before.
Yeah.
And so being able to defeat it it's a challenge. I think it can be more difficult than alcohol, than street drugs, whatever.
Well, and it still needs
you don't have
to
go
be
out and get it. It's right there.
Right. And we still, in my journey, I still have accountability on my phones and my computers. I'm not a fool.
Mm-hmm.
I lock my guns up. I'm not going to keep my phone completely open, so something can come in there, So anyways, the journey still goes. The battle still goes. We're going to be fighting this battle until we're dead.
Right.
So, even though I'm sober, doesn't mean that I don't have attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to stay vigilant.
Yeah.
And alert.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I would just love to invite you to comment. Send us some questions.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get together with Rob again here soon. We live in town together. Not together, but in town. And, if you have some other questions for Rob, put them in the comment section. Would love to run them by him. He's been in this field for longer than I have, but certainly has great wisdom.
20 years plus. Yeah.
Check out ftlcounseling.org.
You got
Check out recoverylifenow.com. Both of those places can offer hope.
That's awesome.
For people that are struggling with, if you are struggling, if somebody is struggling, reach out. That's the first step on the journey. Is to reach out, make a connection, call somebody that knows what's up, that knows how to deal with this addiction, because they've been down that road before and they've helped a lot of other people. And so thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
John.
Yes, sir.
Everybody.
Love you too, man.